Sharon just said that's all I get, but it's really not about what you get, it's about what you give, right? It's always about what you give. I'm excited to be here. Jim, thank you so much. 30th anniversary of New Beginnings. Thank you for including me in this way. I'm so grateful to be here. I've been coming here for probably 30 years. All of my friends come here. Lots of my friends come here to honor Jay last night. It was amazing. I know we're going to honor him again tomorrow. He's very easy to roast, by the way, if you know Jay. Being with my fellow warriors, chiropractic warriors, people that I know for so long, Dr. Kevin Fogarty, Rob Scott back there, my friends from all over, so many of you warriors. I'm just curious, is there a warrior in the house? Anybody? Is there a chiropractic warrior in the house? Is there a warrior in the house? Just curious, is there? So here's another question. Is there a warrior in you? Is there a warrior in you? Maybe it's not out. Is there a warrior in you? You know, what's happening in the world right now, and I think about so many of the things that have come about over the last year. How many of you asked for any of these things that have happened? Raise your hand if you asked for them. You know, I think back in my life, in your life, probably some of the greatest gifts that maybe you have had are things that you never asked for and you thought you were a victim and they became the greatest gift, the greatest opportunity. I believe this, what is happening now, is the greatest opportunity. If you are a warrior for these principles and you're a warrior for chiropractic and you love people and you love humanity, you realize that the other side is doing everything possible to hold on, like Christy so eloquently did with that technique she's holding on that she got from Kevin. That's two, Kevin, by the way, where she was holding on so tight and then she let go. Well, the other side is holding on so tight, squeezing so tight because they are losing control of the people. They are working so hard right now to create as many addicts as possible because they know with addiction, it's a lifetime of hell for the people that now become dependent. They are creating dependence. Well, I got to tell you, for me, as a warrior, this is finest hour time, my colleagues. This is not time to be afraid. This is not time to worry. This is not time to be a victim. This is not time to step back. This is time to step forward. I'll tell you a little story. It goes back to 1982 to 1985 when I was at Life University, like so many of you who went to Life, you Sherman people, my friends there, people from Life West, people from all over here. I love that. When I was in school, I just wanted to go to school because I was a red-headed, afro-headed dude. I know some of you that don't know me can't believe that, but I had this big red afro. You need a picture? I'll show it to you later. So, and I got hurt playing football, and my chiropractor, Ernie Landy, who's on that plaque, Lifetime Achievement Award here, founder became my great friend. He gave me an adjustment. The doctor said, hey, take these pills and don't play. It was probably an opioid. Take these pills and don't play. I said, Mom, I want to play. I don't want to do that. Drugs equal don't play. That's what my mind heard. I said, I don't want to do that. I want to play. So the next day, she takes me to Dr. Landy, Ernie. He gives me an adjustment. I played that afternoon without any pain. This was probably 1977. So I go to school in 1982 to 1985, and I'm thinking, damn, I'm like this red afro-headed dude. I just want to help more football players back on the field, man. That's what we're going to do. And I get to school, and I realize that, wow, there's so much more. And not only that, you ready? There's a war going on. In 1982 to 1985 was one of the most significant political healthcare wars ever. Because in 1986, the year that right after I graduated, 1986 was the year that they passed the act that removed liability from the drug companies, and from that moment on, the destruction on children and people skyrocketed. And I just want to I want to adjust football players. I want to find other redheaded people. That's all I wanted. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. And so at that moment, I got involved. I met Barbara Lowe Fisher, and I realized there was a guy who was a medical doctor standing up against his own industry. Dr. Robert Mendelsohn, how many of you remember, right? He wrote a book. He wrote several books, Confessions of a Medical Heretic. He wrote as a bestseller, got him national, international fame. Then he wrote Male Practice, How Doctors Manipulate Women. And then he wrote a book that became literally, like for my wife Lisa and I, it became almost like a common sense guide for raising our kids and living without fear, called How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor. And he became the people's doctor. He went against the status quo. He went against his industry. And he spoke out. And all of that was going on at that time. Now, I'm telling you now, if 1986 was the act, 2020 is the coup. And we have to stand up to this coup. And you cannot be afraid. And even if you are afraid, it's time to become courageous. Because in this time, if you know that there is a warrior in you, and you don't show up during this time, and you know that you should be showing up, I will pray for you, because you will have a very hard time living with yourself within your own body as this progresses. Because you will either let it burn on the outside or it will burn on the inside of you and eat you up. So that's the choice, honestly. And so when all of this craziness, I won't even give the C word credit. I call it the ridiculousness. So when all of this ridiculousness happened, I became vocal. I used my voice. I found my voice, next level voice. And I got involved in the health freedom movement, next level. And so I have spoken all over. I've been on platforms all over, non-chiropractic platforms. Our podcast is attracting speakers. I've been on lots of other podcasts all over the country, all over the world. The 100-year lifestyle, I can tell you, is booming. For those of you who are involved with the 100-year lifestyle as affiliates, many of them had record years last year, best years ever. People that have been in practice that have had very successful practices, having best ever practices. More million-dollar cash practices than we have seen ever in the history of our world training people. The world is looking for leadership. They just don't know where to find it. And what's different about today is that people think, see, back in 1982 to 1985, I graduated, I was on Quack Watch, I was a quack. Immediately upon graduation, because of some of the work that I was doing, and I got on this website. It wasn't even a website. They didn't even have websites back then. It was published in papers, and I got on a Quack Watch list. Everybody say congratulations. Right. So the students today, and I talk to students all the time, I say, listen, you think it's a crazy world? You didn't ask for this? Well, stop whining. We didn't ask for this either. And who you are at times when you get things that you don't ask for will determine the impact that you have and the quality of your life. I promise you. It's not what you do with the things that you ask for that you get. It's what do you do when you get punched in the mouth? Or what do you do when there's a big challenge? See, and now, when I got called, see, I had you want to talk about challenges? Imagine if you got a call to speak at a rally on health freedom, informed consent, as a chiropractor, in front of the Centers for Disease Control. How many of you think that might be somewhat intimidating? Raise your hand if you think that. Well, I got that call. I got that call a year and a couple of months ago from this group called I Do Not Comply. They asked me, Dr. Plasker, will you speak at this rally in front of the CDC? And I said, let me learn a little bit more about who you are. And I said, yes. So I'll never forget this. I go up, and it was an outdoor rally. Few hundred people, couple of chiropractors, speakers, health freedom speakers, and I was the only chiropractor, and I talked about our principles. I talked about innate intelligence. I talked about the body's ability to heal itself. I talked about informed consent. And I talked about how that building over there, the problems that were in that building, the corruption, and I'm looking at this building while I'm talking. And there's like an army of police cars. It's like Fort Knox, protecting the corruption. And I got to tell you, I don't intimidate easily. I've been doing this a long time. Nothing scares me anymore. And nothing surprises me anymore. But the juices were flowing, man. And I left there empowered. Because I didn't keep it inside. So I did it again. They asked me to do it again. We had another rally just a couple of months ago, except now they gave me more time. Gave me a half hour. They liked what I had to say. They liked that there was a doctor of chiropractic leading a charge for truth. And I was so empowered. And it wasn't about me. It was about all the things that are scaring the crap out of kids. We are destroying a generation of children because of fear, unsubstantiated fear. I cannot live with that. I told my wife, and I hope this never happens, but this is something that I know me, and I know that I cannot live with myself if I do not speak this truth. All of you are here because you have that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You came looking for something. I promise you, it wasn't just a pat on the back or a hug from a comrade or a colleague. Some of you, most of you, all of you came here looking for relevance. And so what's the difference today? From 1985, 1986, the act, to now here we are, the coup. Well, when the act was passed, we were quacks. When the coup is happening, we are essential healthcare providers. We went from being quacks to essential in the mind of some other external body in 30 years. Which, by the way, they could take it away tomorrow. And it doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter to you. You know how I start my talk at the CDC? I said, I've been in practice for 35 years. I have an impeccable record. So if something happens to me, it's political, and it has nothing to do with my profession or my professional record. So here we are. If in 1986 we were quacks, and now we're essential, how many of you have taken essential out for a test drive? I challenge all of you to step up your game and take essential out for a test drive and be relevant. Because something happened just the other day, really a couple of weeks ago is when it started. I got a call from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. There are other names for it. I think one of them is the Atlanta Urinal Constipation, something like that. So I got a call, and this reporter on the other side of the line, and I've been published in with the 100-Year Lifestyle. It's a great media opportunity always to be in lots of different places. So I've been published in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution many, 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 many times for different things, all lifestyle related, chiropractic related. So this time, this guy calls me 2.5 weeks ago, and he says, Dr. Plasker, we're doing a piece on why chiropractors are anti-vaxxers. And we can't get anybody from your side to talk to us. So I said, okay, I'll have an initial discussion with you. Within 10 minutes, I said, I realized they're doing a hit piece on chiropractic. And nobody's speaking up. So what do you think I decided to do? Speak up. So I said to the guy on the other side of the line, I said, so it sounds like you're doing a hit piece on chiropractic. And he said, no, I just want to find out why you guys are anti-vaxxers. I said, well, first of all, I want you to know that I'm recording this conversation. So if you misquote me, there'll be repercussions. So I recorded the conversation, and we talked for about an hour. And I talked about informed consent. I talked about this is not a chiropractic issue. This is a humanitarian issue. This has nothing to do with our profession. There are some chiropractors. He said, well, we've talked to some chiropractors that are pro-vaccination. I said, well, that's what I mean. This is not a chiropractic issue. This is a humanitarian issue, and it's an informed consent issue. And if there's a risk, there must be a choice. And there's VAERS. And I said, and just so many different things that you know me, you know what I said. If you know me, you know what I said. So I left that phone call, called my public relations director. We had a little conversation. I sent her the recording. She said, you know what? If he publishes what you said, then, and she checked him out. She says, I don't know that he's going to not take both sides. We'll have to see, but I think you should do it. I think you should give him the green light. So I got off the phone. I sent that to her. I sent that to Rob Scott at Life. He listened to it, and I said, Rob, listen, they're doing a hit piece on us. So we need to decide if we want to have a say. And so he did his thing, I did my thing, and I called him back, and I said, you know what, I want to meet you for lunch. Because sometimes, my colleagues, listen to me, sometimes you got to be willing to look the enemy in the eye. And Lisa said to me, why did you do it? Why did you go to lunch with him? I said, because I needed to look the enemy in the eye. And so I did. I sat down with him for another hour and probably hour and a half. So it was like a total of 2.5 hours. And I called Lisa when I was done. I said, oh my God, I need a shower. And so this article came out yesterday, and it was a hit piece. And as the people that have seen it say, you know what, it's not near as bad as maybe we thought it could be. I mean, we don't like it. The context is not good. But here's the thing. Our people, they know where we stand. I was talking to my son, because he went to a networking meeting this morning in our practice. And I said, Corey, listen, I spoke at the CDC over a year ago. Our people know where we stand. They're not going to hear anything different from me than they haven't heard about the body, our innate intelligence, its ability to heal itself, all of those things that you and I talk about every day in practice. And so here we are, and I got to tell you, I'm fired up. I'm fired up because think about this, 2.5 hours I spent with this guy. And how many of you would agree that I could probably talk a lot, right? And he's a reporter, so he asks questions. So that's a combination for a lot of information, yes? And he took 5 or 6 sentences out of all of that. So if you ever see it and you say, well, Plasker, what did you say? Is that all you said? No, he left out 2 hours and 25 minutes of what was said. But it said, my passion, I'm a compassionate man. And my passion comes from that compassion because of the parents, the moms, the kids that we sit across from that get injured. And they were mandated that they had to do these things. They were mandated and abandoned. It was mandate and abandon. We did a podcast with a woman, a mom, who I met at Life Leadership Weekend. Amazing woman. She's got a son who is autistic now, 48 hours after an MMR vaccine. And she said to me, when you listen to her podcast, go to 100yearlifestyle.com, listen to that podcast. She said, Lisa did a great job editing it. It starts out, it's like, and what's with all the mandates? They mandate and abandon. What's with all the mandates? And we have to stand for the people. We are the people's doctor of the future. We are the people's doctor of today because we're relevant. My colleagues, if we weren't relevant, they would leave us alone. We are more relevant than ever. The pediatrician is probably the most irrelevant, ridiculous profession puppet ever today. Honestly, if you have a scale, a tape measure, and some common sense, you'll do much better than a pediatrician raising a child. So listen, I'm filling in today. I'm a fill-in. Thank you, Jim, for giving me the opportunity here. I love being at New Beginnings. I'm so grateful that you're here. I've been an ICA member, by the way, for 35 years, 38 years. Love being with all my friends and love and appreciate you. Everybody come give me a hug. I want to give you a hug. Thank you so much.
Dr. Eric Plasker.